Good afternoon, evening, everybody, once again. In my case, it is a late evening. What you're seeing here is something I'll explain in a minute. As far as the tutorial goes on texturing this little city, I guess I can show you what I have come up with since I said I would make things off camera. Did I not grab this? There it goes. Okie dokie, I can probably now leave it up for now. So here's the little area that we made. I will unhide my surrounding wall. Last I left you, I had these houses over here, and I believe one other type of house. Maybe it was one of these? I'm not sure. Don't remember. But I've made a few other things now. Let's see, I've made a surrounding wall. It's pretty basic. Kind of reminds me of Attack on Titan, but I was mostly thinking about when I played Assassin's Creed. There was a city that I was in. I have no idea when or anything about it, but it had a wall surrounding it. And so I went ahead and did that, and that will aid in keeping the camera from seeing off in the distance a little bit. I seem to have trouble with that sometimes. Let's see here. I seem to be lagging. I added a little church over here, off in the distance. Lots of room, as a church would often have. Oh, that's nice right there. This little bell tower thing, I think it doesn't have a bell in it. It was these neighborhoods and this tower that I made for you. Then I went in and made a fountain. I like these buildings over here. I think these ones are my favorite. This one here. We got some stalls, such as over here in the marketplace area, with some surrounding buildings that I am just now noticing don't have any windows. That's a little odd. Let's see. I also added a couple trees. These trees I had already had before from a project I had learned about doing or creating geometric assets in Blender. And so these trees are actually triangulated, I believe. Yes, they are. Trees are difficult to make, so I wouldn't exactly say these triangulated or geometric asset ones are really the best way to go, especially if you just duplicate the same one around like I did. That's not what you should do. This is all mostly for example anyway. Added some over here. Got a little tiny bale of hay over here that I think will come in handy in the actual animation because it's going to end here. I can kind of show you what I mean by that. Of course, I'm going to erase that. I think I learned that I can take this grease pencil and tell it to snap to the surface of stuff. Let's try that. Speaking of the properties panel, I'm going to open up my screencast keys, which I have also recently discovered how to make them bigger down here. So if I type something, the letter is bigger for you. So what I'm planning here, when this doesn't lock up, okie dokie, locked up again. What I'm planning here, I don't like when it's that huge, when it has to give me a paragraph down there. Shift in between mouse move. Yes, you could say pan, but whatever. Let's see, this actually doesn't need to be shiny. So what I'm planning on is having the camera do kind of a general overview of some of these areas, just to, you know, kind of set up the scene there in a town. If you have ever done any storyboarding, the opening shot is most often one of two things. Either something very up close and far zoomed in so that you can't really tell what's around it, to kind of give the viewer a feeling of mystery of what's going on. They are unsure of where they're at, what's going on. Or it can give the I forget the actual name of it right now, but a really zoomed out view where you can see a lot of stuff to kind of set up the scene for the viewers. Like, okay, we're See, I see trees and some playgrounds. We're in a park, and now then it zooms in closer to like a park bench, and you're like, oh, so these must be the characters here, and it zooms into them talking, and it kind of helps set up the scene of what's going on. So if I have the camera moving around a bit, you can see all the tall buildings, and I'll probably focus on this one a little bit, and yeah, just kind of set up what's going on. And then I think it'll cut to the marketplace area. This animation won't be a very long one. It's just going to be a little chase scene. So somewhere within these stalls, we will see some people talking, and someone's going to walk by in the camera, and I think I'm going to do like a crossfade sort of field or depth of view. I don't say I haven't messed with film in a little while. I think it's called depth of view, or I don't quite remember. So, or depth of field, that's what it is. So I'll do something kind of like that, where the people up close are blurry, and you kind of see people talking, but they're a little blurry. You'll see little hand gestures. And then as someone in the background starts walking further away, it'll be focused on them so they aren't blurry, and you see them walking away, and then the depth of field will come in and switch the foreground with the background, so that the man walking away is blurry and the person up front is clear, and that is our main character, Ezio, here. So he'll be standing at one of these stalls, haven't quite really figured it out, and so it's going to start here-ish, or perhaps like right here, and he'll be standing here along with some other people. I'm lagging, so this is not wanting to draw. Just wanting to do everything else but that. And then there'll be other people here too talking. The target is going to walk out this way, and the camera will then see the Ezio is standing here. It'll kind of cut to the target walking, like do a little view of it walking past this thing here. It kind of depends on if I want to go over that line of view. If you are looking at characters from one direction and you see the characters here and whatnot, if that's where the camera is set up, looking at them like that, you never want to switch it to look this way. It confuses the audience on a lot of things, like who's talking or what direction they are moving. It makes them think that they are all of a sudden walking the wrong way, because if you are looking at them from this direction and they are walking to the left, and then all of a sudden you switch cameras to this side and they are walking to the right from that view, it is confusing for the audience, and it takes the person a few moments to kind of catch on to that. So what I might do is place the camera somewhere up here looking down at him, and try and do everything staying on this side, and it'll kind of show him walking through here. I keep hitting T instead of D. He'll be walking this direction past the trees, and you might see Ezio go from tree to tree a little bit. And if we want to do some cheating, we can within a single cut of the camera have him come out of one of these neighborhoods and kind of walk through this main bazaar, and have a scene where Ezio's kind of shoving through people, trying to stay behind the target and not get noticed and whatnot, and then cut back to this area up here. Perhaps it depends on how long I want the animation to be, or how hard I want to work on having a lot of people in the main area. So whereas the target is going to come through here, I'm not sure if I want there to be one or two targets. If there's going to be two targets, I think maybe I could have one end up being assassinated, like in one of these neighborhoods over here, before switching the camera over here. But as the target is moving through this other sort of marketplace area, these are some very dense houses with stalls set up outside. You can even see that I added some details into these stalls. I got some cabbage, some plates, a weird little gem thing, a little box of emptiness, and more boxes of emptiness there. So the target's going to come through there, and Ezio is going to go ahead and jump up this wall, run along it a bit, jump over here, and I added little bricks for him to grab onto the side here, so he'll grab onto the wooden panel, climb up these bricks, jump up here, and then start running along the rooftop. And he will continue along the rooftop, jump to there, and do that really cool balance beam sort of walk that he does along this beam here. It's kind of hard to see my grease pencil now. And I think as he does that, the camera should show the target down here looking at his face with Ezio in the background going across that, to where the target is kind of noticing what's of Ezio's presence, having been alerted somehow that he's being followed. And so he'll kind of pick up his pace. We'll see his feet up close kind of start walking a little bit faster. We'll see Ezio's feet going a little bit faster up here. And the target's going to turn the corner here. And I think somehow, you know what I really didn't think about is I want Ezio to be on this building. And I didn't think about how he was going to get back. That's an interesting thing to do. Or I guess I could, let's see. I could add some more things hanging from the buildings in the area to get him to come back across. And so then the target will kind of start running here. He'll really get into a sprint because he's realized he is about to be killed. And Ezio will come along these walls and jump from this building, kind of in like a slow motion sort of thing, over the hay bale. That's kind of why I added that there. And while in slow motion in this area, we can see the target looking back, and Ezio will come down and do his little air assassination with his hidden blades and knock him to the ground. And from there, it's kind of up to us if we want to end the video there, or if we want to do one of those little talking scenes where he's sitting there holding the person, and with his dying breath he tells them his life story, which I always thought was funny. I'm thinking about making a joke about that, where he assassinates the person and asks him what information he's supposed to give him because he's not sure. And he sits there and says, well, I think I only have a few breaths left, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you my life story and tell you about my dog, and and then you're going to take this feather out of my pocket, and it's going to be used for something later on. Have fun with that, and then die or something. I think that would be kind of funny, but all depends on what you want to do. So that is an explanation of my storyboard that I have conveniently placed in my texturing tutorial. So let's see, I'm going to delete these frames here. Doop, get rid of all that. It's clogging up the space. I'm going to go ahead and try and save. And so what I want to do first is I'm a little unsure about texturing the buildings, as you already know about my my extensive knowledge of ability to texture stuff. What I'm going to start with is the ground, because even though you don't really pay attention too much, if it's just this gray solid color, it's really going to stick out and bother people. And so I'm going to show you two different ways that I'm going to texture this. One of them, I'm going to actually open in a new project because I'm lagging so much. This is a technique I learned a couple months ago. I only used it probably once or twice, actually. Because I think that whereas it does work, it's not very effective. So I'm going to subdivide this plane a few times, not as much as the last one. Another thing that you can do with this method is use it as a base to actually do your actual texturing with, which is what I was almost going to do when I was testing this out before recording, if it weren't for the fact that something went wrong, and in my attempts to undo things, I just ended up losing all of the work somehow. I really don't know. So anyway, we have the plane here. I'm going to open up a next or a second window and go to the UV image editor. X out of that rendered result. And from a top view of the ground here, I'm going to hit U and unwrap. And it's going to give me an unwrapped version over here. And I can just move this over here for now. And down here, let's see, I'm going to hold down my middle mouse button to going to hold down my middle mouse button to drag this left and right up here. I mean, I can do that like over here too. It's pretty helpful, and I wish other programs could do that. I'm going to drag this over to the left to where we can see, is it this view button? Yeah, so if I select view and change it to paint, and then over here in the 3D view, change from solid to texture. This is right next to the button next to edit mode. Change this to texture. I do not like looking at things with textures because the lighting is always really crazy and weird. But I'm going to go ahead and give that a material for now, because I think it might just be better that way. And then in the UV image editor, I'm going to hit N to bring up the painting area. You have a variety of brushes to choose from. I think I would like this more if these brushes didn't have sort of a spray paint look to it. Like if I open up this texture one, you can see it kind of is blurry on the side. You can change that. I'm not sure how. Like if you hit new, there's ways to change it using lots of stuff that I don't exactly understand. So I'll just go ahead and exit out of that and just use the default for now. Maybe I could change the paint curve a bit to some sort of something like this. Let's see, is that... No. Maybe if I hit new down here. Yeah, so I'm going to hit new down there so it opens up an image to actually paint on. And I'm going to hit F to scale this up, and it appears that my changing of that curve to a constant curve, which just means it's straight across at the top, I can actually paint completely in that circle, which makes me very happy. I did not know I could do that. So that'll be very helpful if you want to do this for things such as the clothes before. It all depends on if you can unwrap your clothes in such a way that you can actually understand what it is, and being able to paint on it while looking at it is a treasure for lining things up, because switching between Photoshop and or whatnot, it's really a hassle and confusing and frustrating. Take a drink there. Sorry I didn't tell you before. I actually have Powerade today. Up here we see the color editor. You can change the color with this wheel here, and you can change how dark and bright this is. You can change the strength here and the radius. The radius is when I hit F and moved it up and down. I believe strength is like Control D. Nah. Shift D. It's one of those things that you do without thinking about it when you're not trying to explain it. I usually use it in sculpt mode, so it might be different. So anyway, what I would do is I would grab a green down here, make it kind of a dark green, and just kind of fill in the whole area. And you can kind of see that even though all we have here is this plane, there's nothing else in this file, doing this is laggy, because just making a live texture UV image just takes a lot of thought process in Blender. And so with that, what you can do is take a darker brush, go back to your paint curve, and take the probably the linear one again. Let's see, where is it? There it is. And you can make the brush smaller and just kind of paint in certain areas to give it a little variation. But you can see that I'm lagging so bad that all I'm doing is making dots and harsh lines everywhere, like I didn't tell it to do that. And so then what you would have to do is you would have to find a way to save this image, because I don't know if Blender is actually remembering it as this. So if I hit image, I can hit save as image and save it as a PNG and whatnot. So that is definitely one way. And so what you can do is, if you don't want to draw in Blender because it's so laggy or not, you can kind of use these colors to set up a base of what you want it to be. So such as when we textured the face on Ezio, I would unwrap it, and I was telling you about how it's kind of confusing to know what unwrapped bit is what. You could color in a basic of what you're planning it to be, and then save that, or take a screenshot here, and then go into your editor program, your image editor, and then go over your basic drawing over here, which is almost what I ended up doing in the Assassin's Creed one. What I ended up doing is when I selected the ground, because I have this this grease pencil here of where the roads are. Well, I did that at first. I painted it in, and I tried to add little like speckles of different little gravel looking things everywhere. I painted this little mountain over here, and just, you know, I thought it might look nice and I might not have to go much further than that, but then I ended up losing it. I didn't want to spend the time with it again, so I went into edit mode with my face selector and my brush like this, and I just started outlining this grease pencil, so that when I looked at the unwrapped version of the entire plane, I had to unwrap the entire thing first, just throwing that out there. When I looked at the entire unwrapped version, it would show me this. And you are now caught up with how much work I've done. So my plans now are to take this screenshot like this. I didn't catch them all, but I understand the general reference here, and no Pokemon involved. And what I did is I went into Photoshop and I tried to make a massive image. This is like 4096 by 4096 pixels, which I thought sounded big until I was looking for textures on Google, and it turns out that this one was bigger than this, so I had to shrink it down. But the nice part about it being such a massive image is that I can zoom in very far and still have a lot of detail. So I'm going to zoom back out to where I was. I'm going to use that texture, but not just like that. I'm going to do some other fancy stuff. So what I did to find a texture is there is a website called, let's see, like creativecommons.org, or you could probably look up CC search on Google, and it lets you choose what engine you are wanting to use, and you can type it in. So what I did is I looked up gravel, but this time on Google Images I'm going to look up grass texture. And what this site will do is it will show me everything on Google Images that is free for people to use and edit. And so you don't have to worry about copyright stuff, and you can use it for probably videos and music and other stuff too. I haven't really messed around with it too much myself. So then I kind of look around for a texture that I like. I don't really want something too complicated. I kind of like something like this. Maybe kind of looks like something out of a Roller Coaster Tycoon game. Something like this. See, how's this look? Being picky, aren't I? They're giving me stuff for free and I'm being picky. I'll use that first one that I chose. Oh wait, what's this? I think that's looking nice. Yeah! So I'll go ahead and copy that image, go to my Photoshop, open up a new layer, put that in there as well. And then open up yet another layer, but move this one to the bottom. It's probably helpful for people to name their layers, but I apologize that I am not doing that right now. I'm going to put this picture in, which I think is actually so small. And you can kind of see now why I wanted this picture to be so big is because I want this much detail up close on the streets. So what I have to do is put this up at the top left, take my Marquee box selector, free transform, and just move it up like this. Now, the thing is that I pretty much can't see what I've done now, since the resolution is so bad. But I still have this orange outline of the area that I want to edit. I'm going to move this grass. Ah, man. I don't know if you heard that, but that scared me half to death. I didn't apply the transformation, and I tried to click on something, and it made such a loud noise into my headphones. And then I just whacked the mic. Whoopsie. Oops, don't want to move that one. I wanted to move the grass down here, and I'll start with the gravel. So what I might do is even transform it even further down. About like this. And we're looking at this image at 12.5%, and oh, look at that! The background got better detail now. So I'm going to take this to the center of the bazaar. Not the bazaar, the bazaar is back here. This is the square. I'm going to zoom in a bit, and I'm going to try using a tool that I don't use often. It's not the smudge. It's let's see if I move this in here. I think it's under this one. I think it's this patch tool here. If I make my brush bigger, which I guess I can't do, there's a button that I hold down to select an area, and then how do I do this? Oops, I'm drawing with a brush, or what's it doing? See, it says use pattern. So maybe this isn't what I wanted. Was it this bandage one, the healing one, or? Alt-click to define a source image. Okay, Alt-click. That is more helpful. And I can make this brush bigger. Let's see, Alt-click. Grab that. Click over here. And that's not doing anything. It appears to be changing this image, but that's not what I'm wanting. So let's grab this here, and I'm going to... I really should have thought about this before. I don't want to do a copy of the layer, I just want to copy that around. And layer via cut, new layer. Just want to tile that. Oh, this is complicated. Maybe if I do... no, I am really inexperienced for Blender now. Or not Blender. I just don't know what I'm doing in Photoshop anymore. It's been so long. I'm sure that some of you understand what I'm trying to do much better. See, if I just take this and hit Control C and Control V, will it copy it? It copied it as a new layer. It's not what I want. Not what I want. So this sounded like it was going well before, but it doesn't appear to be going so well now. Maybe I should try this stamp tool. Oh, the editing that I'm going to have to do to this footage. See, where's my stamper thing? Pattern stamp or clone stamp? Let's try that. Get my brush way up bigger. Going to define this as a source. There we go. This is what I meant. Take this, put some here, and just, you know, kind of just duplicate it around a bit. I'm gonna grab this, go this way. Oops, I want this one. And it looks like there's some transparency here, which may be helpful as well. It thinks that I'm wanting to stamp it to look like I'm doing something very subtle, but when really this is the main thing that I'm trying to do. Take this one a bit, do some main pieces. You can kind of see that this is blurry here, so I'm going to alt-click on this easier to see part and add some in here. And I will just start by figuring out the square of the town here. It's interesting how the further away I take the stamp from the original location, the blurrier it gets. It really is trying to be very careful. If I click a bunch in the same time, or the same spot, it seems to be kind of helpful. Now, understand that even what I'm doing here, these rocks are going to be pretty big for the floor. Pretty big. What I might actually do is just go into time-lapse for this for you. Okay, coming out of time-lapse for a moment, I'll tell you something that I learned, is that when you alt-click in an area, you'll notice that when I click over here, some spots will appear over here, and that shows you where from the surrounding area it is taking things from. So if I chose that spot, the first click I do will be in that spot, but as I click around it, it'll copy what's around that area. Nice little thing to know. And now I'm going to go to my layer 2 that I have the grass on, and let's move the grass up a bit. I'm going to move the grass down so it's underneath all those other layers. Start the grass out over here, and go ahead and I guess move it back into time lapse if if this... oops, that's not what I wanted. That's also not what I wanted. I hit F to change the size of this like I do in Blender, but in Photoshop it is the left and right bracket. Here we go. Alrighty, I think that is about it for this. I think it looks pretty fantastic. I'm very excited to see how this turns out, so I'm going to hit save for web. The image exceeds the size save for web was designed for. You may experience out-of-memory errors and slow performance. Are you sure you wish to continue? I suppose, because I don't know how else to save it. I'll go ahead and save it as a PNG, although I should wait till it's done optimizing it down here. Lost my mouse there for a moment. Now it's loading, really making me wish that I had hit save as first. Okay, I'm going to hit cancel and hit save as first. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. I'll just put this in like my documents or something. Don't usually have too many PSDs. Let's see, AC town, camel case, ground texture. Writing Photoshop format. I'll wait for my loading thing to go away. Let's see, save for, wait, can I hit export? Paths to Illustrator. Don't remember too much of my Illustrator class. I don't want to print. All I know how to do is save for web to actually get it as a file. Oh, and one more thing I should do, if it'll let me hit cancel. It will probably let me hit cancel after it optimizes. The thing that I forgot to do is turn off my background layer. And it seems like there is some transparency in here, which is fine. What we could do about that is either leave this layer on to keep those darker spots, which I think I might as well just do. You could either do that or change the material of your ground to a color that you would like it to be. So I'm going to wait for it to optimize this time and take another drink of my Powerade. That looks good to me. Well, top left of it. I've never had to actually try and move that around, so we'll see. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and name it that. Saving optimized. Doopy doopy doop. Doopy doopy doop. Now, if you don't have Photoshop, things that you could do are find tiled textures, which means no matter how many times, it means that it will be able to, like, this side on the left matches up with this side on the right, and same for the top and bottom, so that no matter how many times you tile it, it is connected. In other words, if you look, like, one thing that I think about when I think of tiled textures is the lava in Minecraft. It's moving, yet somehow it's all one block still. the texture of the darker spots as it moves. It comes down to the bottom right, and as it goes to the bottom right, it comes from the top left, so that it seems to continue. The same for the water and other stuff. So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and open an image. Go to Blender, go to Randoms, go to AC Town Ground Texture, open it up, which is actually a couple megabytes. That's just mental for a picture that I made myself. I'm gonna zoom way out. And you can kind of see now that our textured area mostly lines up with it. So I will go ahead and give that the OK. Pull that back in here. Go ahead and leave edit mode, although that won't help my lag very much. Give the ground a new material. Take away the specularity. I'll make it green for the purposes of just looking at it in my 3D view. And I'll call this official ground, so that if I ever make a new thing and name it ground, it won't have this texture. So I went to the textures, I went to textures, new texture, change from clouds to image to movie. I'm going to open up an image from Blender, Randoms, AC Ground Texture, and then I'm going to scroll down and change the generations, or the mapping coordinate from generated to UV. And then I'm going to save. Are my screencasts going yet? I've been switching from project to project. And so actually now what I might do is get rid of that grease line, or grease pencil lines, because they are in the way now. Maybe not so much in the way. So let's grab my camera way over here. And take a look at this. Going to move it along the X a bit. Rotate it along the Z. And then rotate along the X. Because I don't really have a sky at the moment, so we don't need to look much at the sky. Go ahead and save again. Bring up my layer that has lights. I readjusted the lights from my default one to spotlights again, such as I did in the quick explanation of how to render out the Ezio character. Stretching for a moment. And I'm going to hit render image just to see how this looks. I'm excited. Oh yeah. Isn't that just beautiful? I'm seeing something funky on the trees, but other than that, this is pretty beautiful. Like, I might even upload this to my CG Cookie page. This is so beautiful. I got some nice shadows with one of those lamps. I turned off shadows on two of them and let one stay on. Oh yeah, that is nice. I like that. I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot of it and put it in my other paint that I'm not using. I often have two paints up, one for pasting things and then the other one for finalizing. Did it actually paste? I didn't watch it paste it. There we go. So things to change are the trees over here. And that will be the ground texturing tutorial for you. As far as building textures go, I'm a little unsure of how I want to do that. What are the materials on you? I have it set to a tune, that is why. That is fine in other occasions, but not this time. So let's go back to Fresnel. It is not shadeless, though. Let's see, is it Fresnel or Lampert? That's what I'm wanting. And let's take no specularity. Yeah, let's just turn the specularity off. We don't need it. And that should do that. Save. Let's get that camera again and take a closer look at the streets so that I know if we should texture the buildings or not. I'm sure that there are some of you out there who want me to texture the buildings. And whenever I watch tutorials, sometimes they'll say like, you could do this, but oh, that's not what the tutorial was meant for. And so they won't be doing that for this tutorial, or go look somewhere else for it. And I always hated that, but I hope that you can forgive me just on the fact that I actually don't know what I'm doing when it comes to texturing. I've been guessing most of the time. I mean, I know how to do texturing, like I know the process of how to set it up, but when it comes to making it look good, that's where I haven't had the experience of understanding how to make things right. I'm pretty proud of the ground that I made here. And you know, in my opinion, I don't think these buildings look so bad, but man, that's a tough decision. That is a tough decision. I feel like I'm going to upset a lot of you if I don't texture the buildings. Maybe I can try and texture one building for you. One more thing I'm going to take a look at, RZ 180. Let's take a look at the bazaar. Or the marketplace for the more common term. A bazaar is a marketplace. GRZ, grabbing along the rotation of the z-axis. That's a fancy tool I learned about once. So I can attempt to texture one building for you, which might be something you would enjoy. So I would have to look at the building that I feel would be the best to demonstrate that. And I'm thinking that this little watchtower thing would be good for that because of just how blank it is. And I probably do need to texture these walls on the outside. There are some places here that I feel like could use some lamps, or I'm going to actually save real quick and test something. If I go to my render scene here and look at shading, no, where is it? Is it under post-processing? It is not. It's probably under this world area. There it is. So under this world area you can set up a bit of a sky if you want to make a lame one. You can hit paper sky and then blend a sky. And you get this up and down gradient here. And when you look at the sky, the top part of it is blue, but off in the horizon it is white. So we will change the horizon to a white color. And then the zenith color, which is what you see up in the sky, we'll change that to a bright blue, since this is during the day. And there's that sky. I'm going to save that and turn on ambient occlusion real quick and see if that'll brighten up some of these areas. I like the hard shadows of the buildings, but I don't necessarily like the hard shadows of the environment. So now that I turn that on, things look a bit fuzzy. But you can see this shadow down here is softer, but still sharp on the edges, which is kind of nice. And if you look over in this area where the building was dark, it is now lit up just a little bit. I'm not exactly sure about ambient occlusion, environment lighting, and indirect lighting. I know those are things that are good to know about. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this fuzzy look that it does. I'm only on 50% resolution right now, so I can't zoom in too much. Not that big of a fan of the fuzziness, but and that's what cycles does too. That's probably why I don't know about cycles yet. I think that looks nice. Our render time was 50 seconds for a single image. And if I turn that back off and try and render it again, so I think overall I liked what what that ambient occlusion did, but has changed the render time from 50 seconds to... see, is it going to update when it finishes, or was it also 50 seconds? Because it feels like it's going faster than 50 seconds this time. Now it feels all dark again. Oftentimes it'll tell you how long it'll take as it's rendering. So I guess it's still 50 seconds. Oh no, it was 32 seconds. So almost half. Now that is helpful knowledge to know when you are considering that you have to render probably 1,000 or 2 frames. It is definitely something to think about. That is the difference. If I pull out a calculator for you actually, and let's say the animation is 2,000 frames long, and then I multiply that by 50 seconds, and divide that by 60 to get minutes, divide it by 60 again to get hours. So a project that is 2,000 frames long with the ambient occlusion turned on would take about 27 hours to render. Or you could, like I said, it was almost half, so it'd be about 18 to 20 without the ambient occlusion. Now it sounds horrendous, but the way that I will teach you to render things, there is a way to pause it, so it is recommended to render as much as you can through the night, and then wait for the next day and then start rendering again. So with the time bracket, I think I might actually leave ambient occlusion on when it comes to rendering, because if I sleep for 9 to 10 hours, I think I can get it done pretty well in overnight segments. So I'll go ahead and save that, and I think that means we can move on to texturing a building.